Please take roll.
Councilmember Cooper?
Here.
Councilmember Beaton?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski?
Here.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Here.
Councilmember Pontiac Spacing? City Manager?
Here.
City Attorney?
Here.
Finance Director? Public Safety Director?
Here.
City Engineer?
Thank you. Public hearings, we have none. Citizen comments on agenda-related items. This is an opportunity for citizens to speak to items that are on the agenda. I would ask that you come forward, state your name and address, and limit your comment to 5 minutes. Are there any citizens that wish to speak to agenda-related items at this time? Okay. Consent agenda. All agenda items marked with an asterisk are on the consent agenda and considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval of the consent agenda, any member of council may have an item from the consent agenda removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Consent agenda items include approval of minutes, cash balances, quarterly financial update, quarterly investment update, and notification regarding the next work session. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski and a second by Councilmember Cooper. Is there any discussion? Will you please take roll?
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff?
Yes.
And Mayor Smith?
Yes. Thank you. Unfinished business, we have none. New business. Consideration of renewing the annual SSCENT Byron Grant Agreement. Manistee Police Department has an officer assigned to the CENT Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Team. Part of this partnership includes the Byron Grant distribution. The renewal of this agreement is from October 1, 2017 through September 30, 2018. The agreement will be dispersed through the Michigan State Police Bryan Fund in the amount of $10,142 for the CENT officer. At this time, council could take action to approve the CENT Bryan Grant agreement.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Is it Mark?
Yes.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski and a second by Councilmember Whitliff. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple questions of the Public Safety Director. Could you kind of give us a highlight of what this position's all about and whether or not we have availability? I'm looking at the interest or our citizens. Are we able to call this person back? I'm sure you'll touch on that, but are we able to have that person here if we need him?
Oh, certainly.
her.
Yes, he would be available for our needs. The officer that's assigned to it, it's a multi-county jurisdictional team. The biggest bonus that we have for our community is the availability that it has for us to assist us on these specific cases that we have within our community, these drug cases, these investigations that will allow them or him to come in, take it over, and then we can get back to doing our normal business. That's one of the big bonuses. The other bonus of having him within CENT is the amount of training that he receives. We can look back at Detective Glass and when he came out and what he's, accomplished himself with the amount of, to be able to interview, interrogate, write search warrants, the knowledge base that he gains, that is nothing that we have to put any money in towards. It's the experience and the money that is paid through the grant or through the team for the training. So it's invaluable having that person in there. I'm certain that when Officer Vasquez gets out of CENT, that it will be an invaluable asset to us.
So if something would happen, we don't ever want this to happen, but we would get two people really sick or an accident, are we able to call him in then and put him back on the road?
I wouldn't see why not. Even if we have special events, so let's say the July 4th time, we could always utilize him. It just had to be something that I had to get with the lieutenant and talk to him about and tell him about the needs that we have to be able to utilize it. At this time, I would say that we wouldn't ever get to that point. Our summer, we were down 3 and we didn't have a need to recall him, so I think we'd be all right.
Okay. Thank you.
Chief Rosa, first I would like to thank you for all the responses you gave to my many multifaceted questions.
No problem.
You know, and I think for me, part of that was an understanding. People ask, you know, what's this all about, and is this covering the cost? And it's not, but I understand the city is deriving quite a benefit from the exposure and the experience that the officer gets in this capacity. Is he a uniformed officer, or is it more an undercover role?
Plain clothes,
Plainclothes?
yes.
Okay, and when we recall him, is he plainclothes or uniformed?
He'd still be in plain clothes if we could utilize him in that aspect,
Okay.
but we'd like to keep him in the realm that he's at.
Could you give us a little background on what the function and responsibility of this team is, please?
Well, they're a multi-county team run by the state, hence the burn grant, which is the state funds that allows that money to come back to supplement the different jurisdictions that have officers on the team from the different counties and the city of Ludington. They investigate tips that come directly into them. They investigate tips that come through the different jurisdictions. They do their own work to work up cases with individuals. We tend to try to throw as much as we can towards them because that's the only way that they can work, you know, through that initial suspect maybe to somebody above them. Another bonus it is having Officer Vasquez is he's a meth officer, which means that he can come and dismantle the meth cooks that we have and dispose of them so it could take our officers away from it. So it's nice to have that advantage. He's local, he lives locally, he can respond quickly.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
City Clerk, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. City Clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies on the Board of Review, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Compensation Commission, Harbor Commission, Historic District Commission, Housing Commission, Park Commission, PEG Commission, Planning Commission, Tree Commission, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mayoral appointments require a motion, second, and council voted support. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives a majority support. The following applications have been received. Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, one vacancy, term ending 6/30/2020. Applicants must be city residents or persons with interest in property in the city. Mayoral appointment. Roger Yoder, 225 7th Street, has made application for this position. Do I have a nomination for Roger Yoder?
If you're nominating him, I'll support your mayor's decision or appointment.
I would nominate Roger.
I would support the mayor's.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Doesn't need a second.
Okay. Need a second for
Council appointments.
council vote.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry, here's yours.
Mayor requires a motion and a second, yes.
Right, right.
So you, motion?
You made the appointment, I supported
Okay.
your.
Okay.
So you don't need a second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, just so we're clear, a mayoral appointment is made by the mayor, and then that requires a motion and support of council, so you do need
A motion and support, yeah.
It's on the council appointments that we don't require a
Okay.
second.
So you
Yeah,
make a
yeah,
motion?
yep, made the motion.
Okay, and support?
Or,
Support. Okay, I have a motion by
is that
Councilmember
loud enough?
Goodspeed, support from Councilmember Beaton. Any discussion? Would you please take roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Compensation Commission, 2 vacancies, both terms ending 9/30/2022. Applicants must be registered voters in the city. It's a mayoral appointment. Tom Swedenberg, 562 First Street, has been on the commission and desires reappointment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Cooper and a second by Councilmember Goodspeed. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
and Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Harbor Commission, 1 vacancy, term ending 10/31/2020. Applicants can be non-residents but must own real estate or a business or professional profession having a licensed business location in the city. This is a council appointment. Roger Zelinski, 529 First Street, is an incumbent and desires renomination.
I'll make the motion to support Roger Zelinski.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed, second by Councilmember Whitliff. Is there any discussion? Would you please take roll?
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
and Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Housing Commission, 1 vacancy, term ending 5/31/2018, mayoral appointment. Kelly Tomaszewski, 9693 Valley View Drive, Onekama, Michigan, desires appointment. Do I have a,
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Whitliff and support from Councilmember Beaton. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Park Commission, 5 vacancies, 2 terms ending 6/30/18, 1 term ending 6/30/19, and 2 terms ending 6/30/20. 3 appointments may be non-residents but must own real estate or a business profession having a licensed business location in the city or having a child attending school within the city. It's a mayoral appointment. Stephen G. Spencer, 111 Pine Street, has applied for the position. Do I have a motion?
I will make a motion to support the mayor's appointment of Stephen Spencer.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed and a second by Councilmember Whitliff. Is there any discussion?
Which term are you appointing him to?
I would point to the 6/30/2020 term. Any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. PEG Commission, 4 vacancies, 1 term ending 2/31/18, 1 term ending 12/31/19, and 2 terms ending 12/31/20. Applicants must be Manistee County residents. This is a council appointment. James W. Smith, 353 First Street, is an incumbent and asking for reappointment.
I'll make the motion that we appoint James W. Smith at 353 First Street to the term ending 12/31/20.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed and a second by Councilmember Zelinski for the term ending 2020. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Planning Commission, 3 vacancies, terms ending 10/31/2020. Applicants must be city residents. Mayoral appointment. Roger Yoder, 225 7th Street, is an incumbent and desires reappointment. Maureen Berry, 230 Lighthouse Way South, is an incumbent and desires reappointment. May I have a motion to support those?
I'll make a motion, we support it.
Which one?
Do them separate.
Second.
Okay. I'll go with Roger Yoder.
Support.
Who was the support?
Is Linda.
Isn't it?
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Cooper and a second by Councilmember Beaton. Is there any discussion?
Just want to clarify, I know it's okay, but I want to make sure he's going to be on 2 different commissions. Okay,
I don't see any, problem with that.
okay.
Because we have
Okay.
Marlene McBride
I
on.
know,
Will you please take roll?
Councilmember Goodspeed,
yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Okay.
Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
I'm not
Councilmember Whitliff,
Paper.
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Gonna put me next year.
Mr. Taylor, it's all right when we have fewer nominees than we have positions open to vote on all of them at the same time, isn't it?
I would not have seen a problem with that if you had
Okay.
done that, Mayor.
I just wanted to make sure. Tree Commission, we have 4 vacancies, terms ending
Gotta finish
12/31.
tomorrow.
You gotta finish.
Hmm?
Maureen.
Very.
Maureen. Gotta do
Maureen?
Maureen, yep.
The motion that was
Was
made
for
was
both.
to only support the one appointment, I think, so.
Yes.
I think you do need a appointment by the mayor and then motion and support on, the other candidate.
On the second one also?
They voted only on the one.
Okay. Do I have a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to appoint Maureen Berry.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Beaton and a second by Councilmember Whitliff to appoint Maureen Berry. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes,
Approved.
thank you. Tree Commission, 4 vacancies, term ending 12/31/2020, mayoral appointment. Robert Johnson, 530 9th Street, is an incumbent and desires reappointment. Kathleen Friedrichs, 512 Pine Street, is an incumbent and desires reappointment. And Janice Waterman, 1010 Maple Street, is an incumbent and desires reappointment. Do I have a motion for Robert Johnson?
I'll make
Yes.
the motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Beaton, second by Councilmember Goodspeed. Is there any discussion? Would you please take roll?
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
and Mayor Smith.
Yes. Thank you.
Dare's cough because you know she's going to call you next.
Do I have a motion for
I will make that motion.
Kathleen Friedrich?
I will second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed and a second by Councilmember Whitliff. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
And Councilmember Whitliff.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for Janice Waterman?
Yes, you do.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Goodspeed and a second by Councilmember Beaton. Is there any discussion? Please take roll.
Councilmember Whitliff,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed,
Yes.
Councilmember Beaton,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Zelinski.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Notices, communications, and announcements. A report from the Downtown Development Authority. A regular part of each council meeting is a report from a cooperating agency, organization, or department. At this time, Mr. Tyler Leffinen will report on the activities of the Downtown Development Authority and respond to any questions the council may have regarding their activities.
Good evening, council members. I'm Tyler Leppinen, Executive and Economic Development Director for the DDA. I'm glad you kept the agenda light because my presentation might be a little long, but I'll try to run through it as quickly as possible. The DDA didn't present last year, so I thought you wanted a double long presentation. But how does this work? Okay, so I thought I'd briefly start off by talking about what a downtown development authority is, what projects the Manistee DDA has completed, and some impacts our program, strategic plan, and current fiscal year budget. I'd also like to preface the presentation with a couple observations as a newcomer to Manistee and the DDA. First is that I believe the Manistee DDA has been a very active DDA compared to others across the state. I feel fortunate to be in the position that I'm in as a result of the hard work that others have put in before me. And secondly, many of the projects that I'm going to discuss from the past and current are a collaborative effort between many partners, including the city, chamber, AES, Visitors Bureau, and the community. So the DDA map, a downtown development authority, is a defined geographical boundary or district that allows for the capture of incremental growth of property taxes over a period of time. This is called tax increment financing, or TIF. According to the Act enabling DDAs, they're a tool for when the governing body of a municipality determines that it is in the best interests of the public to halt property value deterioration and increase property tax valuation where possible in the business district, to eliminate the causes of that deterioration and to promote economic growth. By capturing more taxes than what the city levies, the DDA is able to make large-scale public improvements. The TIF has allowed for the completion of 2 projects. The first project was the Riverwalk between US 31 and Spruce Street, and then in 1999 the streetscape was upgraded, including lights, sidewalks, pavers, and the entranceway at the beginning of River Street. We are currently in the final years of the bond payment of that streetscape. Other large projects that the DDA has contributed to, the first being the Vogue Theater. The DDA contributed $300,000 into the project. $100,000 was done as a forgivable loan over the course of 5 years, as long as the Vogue met certain performance measurements. The other $200,000 is in the process of repayment. $100,000 plus interest was repaid to the DDA this year. The board extended the remaining $100,000 for 2 years without interest at the request of the Vogue. In the Bluefish project, the DDA assisted securing a signature building grant and loaned the Bluefish $70,000 that has since been repaid, and a $15,000 facade grant. So the impact, while it's difficult to measure the success and direct impact of these projects, since the DDA has invested in the Vogue Theater and the Bluefish in 2013, over 20 new businesses have opened that remain open today, according to business registrations obtained from the clerk's office. So the Vogue, Baker College also recently completed a study for the Vogue. They wanted to find out if the Vogue had a positive economic impact on the downtown. They looked at demographics of patrons, why they went to the Vogue, etc., and surveyed business owners, which found that every business owner that replied to the survey said the Vogue has had a positive impact on downtown. The majority said their sales have increased, and 40% of the business owners that responded said that they had at least a 10% increase in sales. Recently, the Vogue also won an award from Michigan Downtown Association, which is a statewide group, for the best public economic development project over $1 million. Other impacts that we're continuing to see from these projects are the expansion of new businesses, such as the Fillmore. The Fillmore was featured by My North as one of 10 restaurants in northern Michigan to visit. The North Channel Brewery opening November 10th. Housing developments like Edgewater and the Chippewa Cottages, and you could include the rest of the North Channel building in that as well. I put a link to an article about the benefits of increasing density in cities if anyone's interested in that. I've also been contacted or have contacted 25 businesses looking to open stores in Manistee. And I expect that number to dramatically increase once I have updated marketing materials and data, which I'll talk more about later. So I would say that there's been significant interest in downtown Manistee. And these accolades, projects, new businesses that are happening generate interest and awareness of our community and help sell our community to others and even local people who are considering investing in the downtown. So our programs, the DDA maintains an annual facade improvement program. Since 2008, the DDA has invested $126,400 in downtown properties. That is about $11,500 per year. In the current fiscal year, the DDA approved $10,000 of facade grants. This is 289 River Street that was completed this year, and then 337 River Street was approved and is expected to be completed next year, and that's a rendering of the project. The revolving loan program, the DDA has made at least 5 loans totaling approximately $50,000 to small businesses during that time, with 100% payback, and we have 3 loans out there right now. So the current DDA, in 2016, the DDA left the Michigan Main Street program. Without getting too technical, they provide assistance to help establish an organized approach for DDAs to revitalize downtowns. The 2 driving issues that the board had that caused them to leave Main Street was, 1, much of the director's time was consumed by events, and 2 was the significant bureaucratic oversight and reporting that was required to the state. I've heard the same complaint from Main Street communities, including Owasso and Charlevoix. In October 2016, the board hired me to focus on economic development. I started off by updating DDA policies, including purchasing policies, updating bylaws, inventorying properties, surveying business owners, and developing the strategic plan. This allowed me to understand the district, the challenges and opportunities, and identifying what the board wanted me to be working on. That took me about the first to 8 months. Business owner survey. I started meeting with business owners and surveying them on what opportunities and challenges they saw in downtown Manistee. I met with over 90 of the approximately 145 businesses in the DDA. Councilperson Beaton had pointed out that one business said that I hadn't met with them yet. My goal was and still is to meet with every business owner. The most difficult part is meeting with professional offices and service businesses like hair and nail salons, because they're usually busy when I walk in. So my plan is to try and schedule times to meet with those people ahead of time when I'm doing my retention visits this year. Anyway, the top concerns were getting customers here, winter sales, business-to-business sales and partnerships, and communication from the DDA to business owners. So in order to address these issues and become more economic development focused, the board reorganized itself a little bit. We kept 2 of the old committees from Main Street and created 2 new committees. So our 4 committees are the business development, design, marketing and promotions, and redevelopment. Business development, the purpose of the business development committee is to increase business occupancy in existing buildings and retain or expand current businesses. Some of the strategies were to update recruitment material, which has been sent to Right Side Design for completion, the GIS map, which I'll get to on the next slide, identify current vacancies and target tenants. 7 properties were prioritized by how ready they are to be occupied and the impact they would have on the district. I discussed the properties with the owners and came up with a list of targeted tenants for each property. The plan is, once the recruitment materials are completed, is that I'll go to each of the tenants on the list for each property. Increased percentage of retail, restaurants, and entertainment businesses, and that's being achieved through the targeted tenants. Develop and execute retention visits. I'll be completing this in October and November and probably into December. Find creative ways to support entrepreneurialism. We are collaborating with the Chamber and CVB to have conferences inviting the public to show what properties are available, what businesses are needed or desired, and how to go about opening up a business. And the CVB will help with develop a marketing plan for empty buildings. Personally, I believe supporting local entrepreneurs and retaining current businesses is far more effective in building a sustainable downtown, and I'd say literature on economic development would agree. businesses relocating or opening new businesses from other communities is far less common than local people investing in their communities. Okay, so this is the GIS map. It's hard to see from a distance, but I inventoried the properties from downtown with information like use, square footage, vacancy, first floor and upper stories, which ones would be able to add residential units in SEV. From there, I worked with Rob Carson at the planning department, and he created these GIS maps of use and condition. That way we can target our programs and our recruiting efforts better. We can also start to see clusters of use, which is important because businesses have a synergistic effect on each other. And so this one's the use map, so each color is a different type of use: service, retail, professional, vacant. So we're able to see where those types of uses are. And then we have another one for condition of the buildings. In addition to being able to see the clusters, we can start to see the complete business mix. I have 3 charts to look at. This one demonstrates the complete business mix of properties within the DDA based on first floor usage, including residential. The next slide is without residential property. The vacancy rate jumps up about 4%. So from this you can see, you can also see that only about a third of our properties in the DDA are retail and food and entertainment. Many successful downtowns would nearly have a reverse of this percentage, 66%. The mix of businesses is important for many reasons. One, retail, food, and entertainment have a catalyzing effect on each other. They create an environment of people walking around, a place where people want to go. 2 is in the evening. This chart is basically telling us that at most only a third of the downtown is open after 5 or on weekends. And many of our retailers do not stay open past 5 and are closed on Sundays. 3, service and professional uses take up more parking. The next one is the projected business mix, and I don't know what happened to this. Anyway, so it's going to be more difficult, so I hope you memorized all the colors and what percentages go where. But this is what the chart would look like if and when all the current projects are completed. So there are some assumptions here. The properties that have become occupied in this chart are the 55 Division, the Old Eagles by a church, 160 Memorial or Olson's by the Council on Aging and the grocery tenant, 289 River Street or the Riley's building, Edgewater and North Channel being completed without the residential. The vacancy rate is around 12 to 14% after those projects. That's a pretty good decline in vacancies. Also, one challenge I've been coming across when talking with businesses from outside the area looking to open a business here is they want to own the building. And there's not that many buildings for sale in the downtown. There's about 7 or 8 of them, and they all need pretty significant amount of investment in them. The other measurables for the Business Development Committee, vacancy rate is expected to drop by about 5%. The percentage of retail, restaurants, and entertainment is increasing. 4 businesses have opened in the DDA in this last fiscal year ending June 30th, so we're not counting anything after that. That includes Our Creations and Styles, Northern Vintage Decor, Edward Jones near the Briney Building, and Farmers Insurance. Including those and other businesses that added jobs, there are about 8 new jobs in the DDA. Design, the purpose of the design committee is to improve the physical aesthetics and leverage the historic character of the downtown. Through the design committee, the landscaping contract was moved to the DPW. We've discussed improvements to the Art Park, Riverwalk, and Streetscape. Some of that is being addressed through the MSU Sustainable Built Environment Initiative, or SBEI. I'll talk about that in a second. The DDA has approved locations where food trucks are allowed. That policy is being completed by the city. The committee has discussed bump outs for restaurants to have outdoor seating and additional tables or eating areas on the Riverwalk. We still need to come up with designs, costs, and how that's going to be funded, and hopefully have these ready for next year. The facade grant cycle has been discussed a lot, and how to make it more convenient for property owners, especially getting through the HDC process and getting that approval. Removal from of garbage from River Street, working with the community foundation or other partners for long-term maintenance of the Riverwalk. And then the next two slides are actually from the county and AES US 31 corridor plan, but they're similar to what SBEI is. It's just to give you an idea of what the project will look like. So that's their picture from A&W area on 31, so you can see the before and after. And then that's the other one a little bit farther north. So the measurables, the design committee gave 2 grants totaling $10,000 this year. About $31,000 was spent on flower baskets, watering, and landscaping. Marketing and promotions committee. The purpose of the marketing and promotions committee is to sell the image of downtown Manistee to visitors, shoppers, and potential new businesses. They do this by hosting community events, developing a sponsorship and volunteer database, leveraging limited advertising dollars through social media, improving communication through quarterly newsletters, the River Street Business Owners Facebook group, and an email list of about 100 business owners. Communication from the DDA was one of the top concerns for business owners, so those are the 3 methods I've tried to improve for communication, along with merchant meetings. To resolve that issue, most of the merchants I've met with recently have said communication has improved, but it could still be better. So measurables so far this year, our event revenues are about $5,500. We've increased our Facebook following, distributed 1,000 downtown maps, and sold about $23,000 downtown dollars. This includes last Christmas, which is our busiest time for downtown dollars. Also, another project that I'm working on with the Marketing and Promotions Committee is the website, and populating that website, which I underestimated how much time would go into that, and I'm a little bit further behind than I would like to be. The redevelopment committee leads and promotes the development of underutilized buildings and spaces in the downtown core. We've created a scoring system to evaluate projects, identified and prioritized sites for redevelopment within the district. I'm also working with 2 property owners to apply for grants to the MEDC. I worked with Denise to identify buildings with vacant upper floors. We have 12 buildings that could add residential units and apply for grants. I contacted them to see if they were interested. Of those 12, I received 7 applications to assist with applying for grants. 5 met the qualifications. 3 did not follow up with information requested by the deadline in July. I would certainly assist them if they came back, but I'm not focusing on them at this point. That leaves me with 2 that I'm working with. One of them recently had a meeting with MEDC. The state gave them options as to how to move forward, and I'm waiting on them to make a decision. The other is expected to provide documents needed to move forward with a meeting with MEDC soon. Much of what the redevelopment committee will be evaluated on are long-term issues. The DDA also has a purchase agreement in place for the American Cleaners building. I've applied for a grant to MEDC through the RRC program to assist with pre-development activities last Tuesday, and I expect to hear back Thursday or tomorrow. We would not be eligible for that grant opportunity if it was not for Denise's hard work getting Manistee certified in the RRC program. Other merchant meetings, I've been holding monthly merchant meetings as well, except for June, July, and August, because business owners are typically pretty busy during that time. The first meeting was very successful with positive feedback. My intention is to have a presenter for each meeting to give some helpful information to the business owners. We've had a social media presentation, Google listing. The CVB talked about what they do and how they're promoting Manistee to a larger audience. Which if I can just take a second and say that CVB has been doing an amazing job. They've seen 10 to 14% increase in their revenues they collect from hotels, not including the casino, every year since 2012. So if you've not seen a presentation by the CVB, you should go and hear about the growth in our tourism industry. Hearst Media, who bought out the News Advocate, presented and talked about what services they can provide. The Small Business Development Center and the Michigan retailers have all presented. Regarding the TIF, the DDA TIF committee has created a draft plan and has been sent to city staff. We have a meeting set with city staff and the DDA TIF committee for January. So the current budget, as I'm sure you're aware, DDA captures local property taxes. Our budget is made up of 63% City of Manistee, 24% Manistee County, 10% West Shore, and 3% Library. Last fiscal year, we had a surplus, which was a result of not having a director for the beginning of the year. and the interest from the Vogue loan. This year I presented a balanced budget, but with the amendment for MSU SBEI and the property acquisition, we will need to use fund balance. But again, this is using funds that we have received as payment from the Vogue loan. Our TIF revenues, our projected budget for fiscal year 2017-18 is $259,000. So the DDA is capturing approximately $163,000 from the city, meaning that the DDA keeps nearly $100,000 within the city that would otherwise go to other taxing jurisdictions. This graph shows the DDA revenues over the past 5 years. There has been a 15% decrease in revenue over that period of time as a result of increased personal property tax exemptions and a decrease in commercial property values. The property values are decreasing due to the condition of properties and vacancy. Our expenditures, this chart shows the expenditures for the DDA. The largest portion of the chart is the required expenditures at 68%, beautification at 16%, city maintenance at 7%, and then projects, advertising, professional services, office related are all pretty similar. Now I'll go into each category and briefly. Required, as you can see, that this expenditure has remained flat. They are fixed costs. It's mainly the bond payment and payroll. Office related, this was the area I was able to find the most savings by moving my office to City Hall. Professional services, I did increase professional services. There are a couple of reasons for that. First, our legal costs were always exceeding our budget, so I think it's a more accurate representation. 2, in the past, the DDA had shared personnel with either the chamber or they had an administrative assistant. Now it's only me, so I contract with an accountant. Also, there were some issues with accounting even when they did have more employees, so I think it's a prudent practice for the DDA to continue. City maintenance, this is another portion of our budget that has increased this year. Beautification, this category includes our facade grants, landscaping, flower baskets. Projects, initially this was much lower, but with the Vogue loan payoff and our fund balance being healthy, the MSU program added most of the cost here, and I see it as an investment because it will provide for a vision and a plan to move forward. Also included our downtown dollars expenses and business education. Advertising, again, this was another area we found savings at. This includes one ad on the back of the visitor's guide in our website. Any questions?
Yes. One of the things I recall from maybe an annual meeting from last year about the DDA is one of the questions that keep coming up is how many new jobs have been added? So you've tracked these 20 new businesses that have been established since 2013. Do you have a feel for how many new jobs that added?
If I had my spreadsheet in front of me, I could tell you.
Wow. Can't help you there.
I don't know what slide that was on. I could certainly get that number and get back.
Thought
with
there
you.
was a net 4.
Yeah, that's for this fiscal year. So from the 4 businesses that started this year. And then I included Daybreak Gallery left, Northern Vintage came in. That's how I came up with the 4
What'd you do
net
about
jobs.
Olson's going out? What did you do about Olson's going out?
That was prior to me coming, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, you said 20 new businesses since 2013?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what year did Olson's go out? Just a couple years ago, right? Or a year ago?
They went out of business about a week before I started.
So how many, jobs were lost? I don't know how many jobs were lost because
I could certainly find that out for you, though.
I do think it's around 25. So whatever number you come up with for the 20 new ones, you need to subtract 25.
Yeah, and this is over a 4-year period. I'm not saying that those 20 new businesses are from this year or last year.
I know, that's from 2013.
Mm-hmm. I could certainly get you those numbers on how many employees each of these businesses have hired, and then subtract ones that have left.
That's pretty much a measurement. It's just one of many measurements, but it's one that people ask for.
I'm
So-
keeping track of it currently. When there was no director here keeping track of that kind of stuff, it's more difficult.
Yeah, he did say it was too difficult, so. You're probably.
I
doing
was
that,
talking
Jeff.
about the 8 months where there wasn't anybody in the office, but.
Okay, well, if it's a number that you can incorporate into it to give us a little bit better handle on
I
it.
can tell you every single year I give you a presentation, I will be able to tell you how many new jobs we've added and how many we've lost.
Okay.
Other questions or comment?
Yes, Tyler, you mentioned in this report that you're speaking with 25 different people on new businesses, potential new businesses?
Yes.
Okay. Are they from town, out of town?
Both.
Are they?
Some of them I've already talked with, they're moved on. I would just keep track of how many I've contacted and how many have contacted me.
Now, you say when they moved on, they lost interest in Manistee?
Correct.
You keep a record of why? You know, why
Yeah.
they lost? Why?
Sometimes it wasn't that great of a lead on a business. The ones that I've contacted are from lists that we have come up with tenants that we would like to have here, but they aren't necessarily interested in opening a second store or other issues like that.
Okay. And out of these 25 potential, what is the mix? Is it clothing, furniture, food? Do you know?
Again, if I had my spreadsheet in front of me, I'd be able to tell you. It's been a pretty good mix, and the businesses that we're targeting, once I have the recruitment materials, are heavily focused on restaurants and some retail, but the DDA feels that more restaurants are needed.
Okay. And the only other thing with the DDA downtown, you know, personally, I'd like to see trees downtown to soften
I would too.
town.
I
It'd be
agree.
much improvement. So to the new council, starting next week, you should work on trees.
Another
That's
thing
all.
for the deer to nibble on.
Well, they're easily hit downtown with cars, so.
Other questions, comments? Thank you for a very
Thank you.
comprehensive report.
Thank you.
Discussion on draft request for qualifications. The discussion and feedback from council is requested on a draft request for qualification for economic development and related services. I hope everybody had a chance to read the attached draft.
Yeah, it's included in council's packet. It's a draft that was prepared by staff. We think it reflects what council wants in a request for qualifications, but we wanted to give council an opportunity to look at it, and if there was something that was lacking, please let us know, because we want to get this going as soon as possible. So, do you have any comments on it? Was there anything that that you thought was lacking, or did it adequately reflect the wishes of council?
Anyone have anything they wanted to add to it or thought that should be changed?
I think I would feel more comfortable if we went through exactly what our objective with this is, because I want to make sure that we all understand it the same way. Are we looking for a consultant of record that's always going to get these requests, or are we looking to use this form to send out to other consulting firms on a bid for project?
The direction we had from council was to have a, lack of better terms, a consultant of record, much like we have an engineer of record or something like that, that we would work with on a determined basis or time frame for economic development services. So if we put this out, we would get a consultant or a consulting group, and that staff would bring back a recommendation to council, and council would then enter into an agreement, a contract or an agreement of some term for economic development services.
Okay, so does staff have a list of who they would like to send it out to?
We haven't developed that yet.
Okay, will it be more than 3?
We hope so. We're gonna
Okay.
post it in some different areas, So, you know, we hope to cast as wide a net as we can.
All right. Are you going to include the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
Okay.
When you talk about term, you could review this every year.
We're gonna bring back a recommendation to council. I think 1 year would be too short. If we go with a multi-year agreement with a clause that it can be, I call it an escape clause, where the city or the other party can get out with an adequate amount of notice.
How, if we're going to invest money in an economic developer, how do we measure that success, or how often do we take a look at that, or whose responsibility is it to monitor that so we don't get into the situation again where,
Well, that's gonna be how you know, it's gonna be dependent on how you craft the agreement, because there's gonna have to be some benchmarking, there's gonna have to be objectives that council wants met. And that staff will take a swing at that and bring it back. Where we would say that, you know, maybe we want X number of business retention visits on an annual basis. We want this, we want this, we want that. This is what we're kind of asking for in them, to give us some ideas on how they want to approach it.
Any other questions? I don't see any problems with the way it was outlined. I mean, it's in a draft format, and going forward, you know, getting a proposal out there and having entities respond to it could provide some clarity along the way.
We've listed some of the services that we would expect to receive from this. This is on it's on the third or fourth page. And there's a number of them, just as an examples of what we would be looking for: business retention, business recruitment, project funding sources, grant writing and administration, strategic planning services, those types of assistance to the city. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Concerns and comments. Citizen comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services, activities, or areas of city involvement. Citizens in attendance shall be recognized by the mayor for comment, limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read. Are there any citizens that wish to make comment?
Hi, my name is Kendra Carr, and I'm a board member with the Manistee Civic Players. I'm here today simply to inform the City Council that this last Saturday, board members with the Manistee Civic Players and volunteers moved our props and part of our costumes from the Ramsdell. Because at this time we've decided not to renew our lease with the Ramsdell Regional Center for the Arts. We also wanted to take this opportunity to thank the city for their partnership with the Manistee Civic Players throughout our 78 years with the Ramsdell. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens that wish to comment? If not, we'll move on to officials and staff. City manager.
Nothing at this time.
City attorney.
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
City clerk.
Just like to congratulate the elected and re-elected new council members, and thank Councilmember Whitlow for his service.
Thank you.
Public safety director.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Finance officer.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to report to council that we had a successful bond sale on Monday. The interest rates have been rising a little bit since we did the very preliminary calculation several months ago. And on Friday, we went through what we thought the numbers would be. And when they came back in on Monday, the subscription was actually 4 times oversubscribed, which means the underwriter had 4 times as many orders for the bonds than we had available. So what that allowed them to do is go back to the buyers or the potential buyers and adjust the interest rates to the city's advantage until the supply met the demand. And so we sold $3.475 million worth of bonds, and we had an average interest rate, and there's several different ways of calculating that, but it's what they call a true interest cost of roughly 3.1%, which was very good. The pricing advisor that the city hired to look over the shoulder of the underwriter was very pleased with that result, said that was a very fair and reasonable outcome. And so we signed the sale orders and the other documents that were necessary to consummate that transaction yesterday, and then we'll be closing and receiving the proceeds on December 5th. So overall, it was a very successful bond sale. I think that was reflective of the fairly strong financial position that the city's water and sewer utility is in, and the Standard & Poor investment grade rating. So I just wanted to let council know about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have planning and zoning, city engineer?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Public Works is not here? Yeah. Sir? Nothing?
That's Brandon.
Brandon.
What is it?
Planning and zoning is not here. Okay, council members.
I just want to congratulate Linda Beaton on her election for 2 more years. And welcome Jim Grabowski to the city council, and thank Mark for all this work that he's done for the city council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I just want to say that I'm really grateful to be given another term. I have several people I'd like to just highlight that I'd like to thank. Chip Goodspeed for decorating your corner of the world with my signs. That was pretty nice of you. One thing I've learned about working with council members is we don't always agree on the same things, but I really enjoy working with people who love the city of Manistee and the people that's in it. Chip and I cannot have a conversation together about our parents without either one or both of us getting teary-eyed. So I know our passion is with the elder seniors. Mark, thank you so much for your service to the city, your level-headedness. Really appreciated working with you. Dale, thank you for your support. And Jim and Kathy Grabowski, thank you. Alan Marshall, Dave Scory, and some people from the Street Ad Hoc Committee, which was such an interesting 7-month journey to talk about streets, which Joe Maxey and Gerald Hall and Roger Zielinski and myself. Thank you for your support. And thank you for everybody that voted for me, and I encouraged that we actually did have a contested race in the 2nd district. It lets me know that there's still plenty of work to be done, and there's still plenty of people that would like some changes. So I will be reaching out to Howard Turk to see what I can do to smooth things over. So thank you again.
I'd like to thank Mark for his service. I'd like to thank all the new members. You'll be here next week being sworn in. I also, which is near and dear to me, a couple that I knew in Harrison, another life, another time, died in the Texas shooting, the church. We need to remember those people. For me, it's forever changed the way I look at things. I just think we need to keep them in our prayers and our thoughts. It was just a tragic thing. Also the people in New York.
Marky, I'm gonna miss you, buddy. I really am.
Thank you, Chipster.
I enjoyed being with you, bud. Grubba, I'm sure we'll have fun. But thanks, bud. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Thanks for serving. That's all I got.
I just have a couple dozen items to go over, so if we have No, I just have 3 things. Today, I emailed Thad and Tim about blight, so hopefully we can take care of that. Neighbors are a little upset about that. Secondly, just congratulate Linda and Chip on their reelection, and welcome Jim Grabowski to the council in the 6th District, so have fun. And I mean that, it's good. And lastly, I just want to thank the citizens of Manistee for giving me 4 years to serve on council. It's been an honor to work for you, truly has. And thank the staff for helping me along this journey, always filling me in and giving me a little push. And thank the current and past councils for always working towards the betterment, of Manistee. Thank you.
First, I have to apologize for being late. I ran into some traffic coming back from Lansing. And I want to congratulate all the new member and re-election of Goodspeed and Beaton. And thank Mark for his service.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was reminded this morning, the City Hall will be closed on Friday, Veterans Day. So thanks to all of our veterans that are out there for their service. Welcome, Jim, to City Council. Congratulations, Linda, for your reelection. Good to have you back, Chip. And thank you, Mark, for your 4 years of service.
Thank you.
I wish you well in your future endeavors, and please
I'll be back.
keep in touch.
I'll be back.
Keep in touch. So, with that, motion to adjourn.
I will make said motion.
Second.